Okay, let's see. I'm going to tell you about a time I was 8 years old. It was August of 1945. We had a big tobacco barn, and I used to love to go out and stand in the ventilators. We had a dairy attached to the barn on one side where I milked the cows in the morning. I milked a lot of cows at 8. And the tier rails in a tobacco barn are 4 feet apart and 4 feet high, so that every 4 feet you go up, you get another layer of tier rails. These are very long, 12, 15, 16 feet long by 4 by 4, very sturdy wooden slats that you can stand on and pass tobacco sticks up through them, and then you put the tobacco sticks, which are about 4.5 feet long, just enough to have 3 inches on each side, and then you shake out the tobacco and separate it. Well, when you're 8 years old, you don't get to do a whole lot of lifting the tobacco, but you love to stand in the ventilators, and you're just about 4 feet tall, or a little bit, and you can peek over and see these neat rows of tier rails that stretch all the way across the barn to the other side. I guess it's 50, I don't know, got to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so it's 24, 28, 30 feet, I guess, and it's a very smooth looking piece. Well, I was standing in the second ventilator over the dairy barn roof. I was standing on this, I guess I was standing on the second tier, which would be about 4 feet above the dairy roof, 8 feet above the ground below me, but only about 4 feet off the dairy roof. And I could just barely see over the third tier rail. And I thought, I will just jump up and look over and see how beautiful that is, and then I'll come right back down and land on the rail that I jumped from. Well, you have to jump up and out to get your face over the next 4-foot row. It was quite beautiful and symmetrical, but when I came back down, I missed the rail I'd been standing on, and the rail that I looked over hit me in the chin and turned me a complete somersault, so that I landed on the back of my head on the dairy barn, 4 or 5 feet down. I guess from where my head was probably 8 feet, because I had done a nice little circle bump. And by George, it really hurt. And I got my lip caught, and my teeth were sticking out right there. And I couldn't get it. And I suddenly realized I couldn't move, because I had managed to fracture the jaw on both sides right here. So I lay there and cried for a while. And then I don't know how I got down. I don't remember. It must have been a horrendous thing. But I got down, and I went into the house where Father was. And I fell out of the barn. And he said, you fell out of the barn? What the hell are you doing jumping in the barn? I said, well, he says, what's the matter with your lip? I can't understand what you're saying. And I said, oh, I got teeth. And he said, oh my God, that's your teeth, isn't it? He says, Polly, give me a fork. And, oh, fork. So he took the fork and he couldn't get the lip off the teeth. And in the meantime, this is hurting pretty good over here. He said, it seems a little swollen over here. Does that hurt? Oh, my God. So he said, well, Kent, you'll have to take him into the hospital. I don't know what we're going to do with that boy. And Kent says, I have to take him in that. And I was 8, so I guess Kent was 16. He could drive. And Kent said, okay, I'll take him in. And we went into the hospital at St. Joe's, which was on 2nd or 3rd Street there, just off the Newtown Pike when you got into town. And I remember being in the emergency room, And I don't know who the physician was. It must have been, I think the nurse tried first. She couldn't get the lip off. And I was hollering and carrying on. And somebody says, "Where's the parents?" And Kent, 16, about yay big, says, "Well, they're awful busy and they couldn't come, but he's all right. He said you could go ahead and fix him." So finally they got the doctor to come in, and he used some, didn't have any Novocaine apparently, because he didn't use anything but a clamp. I remember that. He clamped the lip and you can get it off. And I was bleeding like stink by then. And he says, "That's the damnedest thing I ever saw. It looks like somebody had been poking at this with a fork." They didn't have parental laws in those days, so they couldn't understand me anyhow. So it took 3 days to get swelling to go down so they could operate, because my teeth are so bad. But they finally waited, and fortunately I had knocked out 2 cuspids, so I had holes in the front jaw where after they'd wired me up, because I had broken one here and one here, and everything was kind of cattywampus. And they put, I sucked straws through there, but they're always worried you're going to throw up. I remember that. They had these big rubber bands on there, and they had pliers or scissors or something by the bedside, so that if you vomited, you wouldn't choke and drown in your own barfel. It was a wonderful experience. And Father came in and said, "Well, say, somebody finally fixed your lip, huh, boy?" I said, but I was kind of a whiner. Dorcas was in some kind of nursing school or the Red Cross or something. Dorcas must have been about 18. So she was one of the nurses in St. Joe's and helped take care of me, and kept threatening me with the pliers if I threw up. So I only had liquids, and I didn't weigh enough to talk about. I remember I was in the hospital on VJ Day because the place went nuts, and I couldn't even open my mouth. I lost weight. I was great. They made you wear these long braces for 6 weeks after they'd gotten the first tight ones off. And so I couldn't open my mouth more than like that. And Mother used to send me with strange canned goods. I remember Vienna sausages, because you could mush those up and get them in the keel quarter as the only solid food I had, and a lot of liquids, malted milks or something. And I remember going back to school in September, I guess, and I still couldn't talk. And that was a real hazard in my day when I couldn't talk, boy. Had a heck of a time with that jaw. But I'll never forget Father trying to get the lip off of there with the fork, and then the guy saying, "It looks like somebody did this with a fork." No. Father.